What is going on, guys? Your boy Sly here, and thank you all so much for stopping by and checking out another Mass Effect Andromeda latest news video. The past few weeks have been pretty amazing. Ever since the media embargo was lifted, article after article, video after video, all our questions answered by the devs and tons of gameplay to sift through. We've had more things shown to us in the past few weeks than we have in the entire past few years. Now, they weren't kidding when they said they would drop it all in our laps a few weeks before release, because they definitely have done just that. Speaking of release, make sure you're seated because we are only 11 days away from having Mass Effect Andromeda in our hands. By the time you all see this, it'll probably be less than that. What's even better is that early access starts 5 days before release. That means in 1 week, just about 6 days, I'll be seeing you guys in multiplayer. I can't believe that after 2 years of speculation, 2 years of waiting, it's finally happening. And I hope you guys are just as amped up as I am about it. Alright, so before we dive into what's going on in the world of Andromeda, we just hit 15,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Also something pretty effing amazing. I just passed 14K literally like 3 days ago, so thank you all so much. And to those who are new to the channel, welcome to the nation. I hope you all plan to stick around and be here for the long haul, because I have a ton of good things coming up in 2017. Not to mention all of the awesome games coming out as well. So to say thank you, I'm holding a giveaway this weekend for a pre-order code to Mass Effect Andromeda. As my older subscribers know, I try to hold giveaways as much as possible, and this is just my way of saying thank you. But enough about that, let's check out what's good in the world of Mass Effect. So first up, let's talk about the most recent videos to drop since my last news update last week. As far as official BioWare videos, we've had 2 show up since last time. First up is the 3rd video in the gameplay series titled Exploration and Discovery, and the other is the final Andromeda Initiative briefing video narrated by our Chief Science Officer aboard the Tempest, Suvi. I've made a breakdown video of both of them if you want to check that out, but I definitely recommend that you guys take a look at the originals first. Both of them will be listed in the description box below, as well as the others we're about to go over. Next, let's talk a little about IGN. Now, last week we had a look at some pro-level IGN gaming skills while they showed off the first part of PB's loyalty mission. Of course, that's a joke, but since then, IGN has released 4 more videos, and actually, I had to go back in and edit this at the end because they literally just released another one a few hours ago. So that's 5 halfway spoilerish videos from IGN in just this week alone. To start it off, we had the first 13 minutes of the game shown to us, a big introduction spoiler. Then they showed off 3 of the explorable planets, Kadara, Eos, and Vold. One small one about multiplayer, then another spoilery one giving us a first ever look inside the Nexus, and then a few hours ago they dropped one about driving and upgrading the Nomad, which by the way shows how to mine while you're in the Nomad. And it has a pretty strong Mass Effect 2 feel. But not much else. That right there is way more content than we've seen in the past month. The hype train, guys, woo-woo, definitely starting. And of course, if you want to check out any of those, take a look at the links down below. My favorite was the Nexus one. You can hear Liara Tassoni in it, and there's also a super quick Easter egg in there of the Normandy SR2. So while we're on videos, a fellow YouTuber and streamer who I just recently found out about, a lady by the name of GamerMD, had a sit down with one of the devs and was able to capture some footage of multiplayer that happened during the closed alpha last year. Now, it is an extremely old build, but nonetheless, the basics are all there and pretty much unchanged. And I was surprised at just how complete it looked, even being that far out. So that is definitely worth a look as well. And one quick thing I wanted to mention was that I forgot to talk about these upgrades called fusion mods in one of my videos. So fusion mods are remnant modifications that can be applied to armor. And supposedly we're going to hear more about how those work here very soon. TM. Well, at least it better be, because there's not a lot of soon left. Also, over the past week, one of the developers who works on multiplayer, Fernando Melo, tweeted 1 multiplayer sneak peek per day leading up to PAX East. It started last week and ended today, since they are setting up at PAX tomorrow, which is Friday. There are 8 in total, and more on PAX a bit later. So these screenshots were dropped showing various things within multiplayer, mostly areas we still had a lot of questions about. The first one dropped was last Thursday, which I went over in my latest news video, and all it showed really was the multiplayer character screen. Following that, we see the second one here showing off a different class with a few different talents. The third one shows us the character customization screen within multiplayer, and some were a little underwhelmed by the amount of customization, but they never claimed it would be the holy grail within multiplayer. Single player, however, has a very detailed CC. And as you can see here, we pretty much have the same thing we had in Mass Effect 3. A few colors, a few patterns, and pattern color. Also, you cannot change your character's helmet. You can change its color and pattern on it, but if your multiplayer character has a helmet as part of its outfit, then it stays on and cannot be taken off. Of course, that's not how it is in single player. The color wheel, that's a nice upgrade, and this sounds like it'll be the exact same color wheel used in the CC for hair. We'll have to wait until the 16th to find that out for sure. And next, we're given a look at the bonus stats. As you rank up and gain XP, your character becomes stronger as well. And these bonuses, once unlocked, will apply to all of your characters within multiplayer. Moving on to number 5, we start getting some juicy info. Leaks earlier in the year told us about special missions within multiplayer, as well as a second type of multiplayer. And here we finally see what they mean. Missions are our multiplayer/single player tie-in. Certain missions are available, as you see on the left, and on top of that, there will be modifiers present to make it easier or harder. The rewards are pretty awesome, and as you can see down on the bottom, rewards can be taken into single player and used in-game to buy blueprints, or if you're lucky, you may get weapons and armor dropped from loot boxes. Now, I haven't found out if these will be in the same maps as multiplayer, or if you go back to like certain spots that you've discovered on a planet and fight there. Hopefully, we'll find out more at PAX this weekend. And as we press forward, they just keep getting better. Here we finally get some hints as to what these Apex missions are. Now, the reason why these are unique is because you can either man up or woman up and play these yourself to secure victory, or you can assign a strike team of AI characters to go in and try to complete the mission for you. So it's all the spoils of a multiplayer match without any of the effort. The problem is that victory is never assured. It's kind of like Dragon Age Inquisition, where you send people in your stead, or maybe even Assassin's Creed, where you send the boats that you've captured to go and complete certain missions that, if successful, return with experience, money, and loot. And the same thing happens here. The more you use your team, the more powerful they will become, and the more likely you can trust them to achieve victory. But if you're not careful, they can go in and lose it all. These missions also expire, so if you don't hit it by the time the countdown's up, you will lose out on a bunch of loot that can help you in-game. And the cool thing is that you can then send these teams out, whether you're still in single player completing story missions, or even in multiplayer doing a completely different thing. And of course, you can always hop in and do it yourself. Alright, and our final sneak peek is this right here, multiplayer challenges. These here are only the minor challenges, as you can see below the word weapons. There are many different challenges in Andromeda in a few different categories. The harder they are, the better the rewards. And as you can see, nameplates and emblems are also coming back. Alright, well, while we're on multiplayer, PAX East is this weekend, and it starts March 10th, which is Friday, tomorrow. BioWare will be live on Twitch streaming multiplayer starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then again at 4 p.m. Now, they're only showing off 2 characters, and their abilities as well as their weapons will be locked, so that way you can save the rest for when it releases. So, the first character is a female Krogan engineer, which is a first in many aspects. There hasn't been a female Krogan in multiplayer before, like, ever. On top of that, a Krogan engineer? Man, absolute blasphemy. Krogans are vanguards, man. Come on, everyone knows that. And as you can see, she has Overload, Assault Turret, and then Incinerate. She's also rocking the Zulkan Assault Rifle and the Charger SMG, which, by the way, is simply the Tempest SMG renamed. The second available character is the Asari Duelist, a biotic warrior with a sword. Now, we have Charge, Backlash, and Lanced, followed by double shotguns, the Disciple, and the Katana, which is, kind of an interesting choice. Now, if you can't tune into the live stream, I will have it up on my channel, unedited, commercial-free, for all those who can't make it. So don't you worry, I got you. But before we leave multiplayer, let's take a look at a few tweets from Conversation with Devs. First up, some clarification on strike teams. If you wish to send out a strike team instead of doing the mission yourself, you cannot actually select individual characters from multiplayer. Instead, there are certain teams that are available. The more you use that team, the stronger the characters within that team become. It's also important to pay attention as to what kind of mission you're undertaking. Some teams are better suited for different situations than others. Sending in the wrong team can be disastrous. And like I said, the more you use them, the more they will unlock unlock traits to make them better and more suited for other missions. Next up, mission funds. You might have seen them in one of the screenshots earlier. Mission funds are the currency you use to deploy the strike teams in the first place. The more multiplayer you participate in, and the more matches your strike team wins, the more mission funds you will have, but they feed back into themselves. So if you lose too many strike team missions, then you're going to have to grind in multiplayer to get the funds back up. They are also account-wide, so it doesn't matter what save you use or which character, they will be there for everyone. Also, if you're wondering how you upgrade your weapons in multiplayer, that hasn't changed from the same way we upgraded them in Mass Effect 3. Weapon packs drop the upgrades that you use. And finally, let's get into some good news. If you were scared that BioWare would go all Call of Duty style and charge you guys out the ass for multiplayer packs, well, breathe easy, my friend. Multiplayer DLC packs are scheduled to drop just like they did in Mass Effect 3. Free for everyone. Now, of course, they haven't talked about any map packs just yet, but given the popularity of multiplayer, I can see one coming out in a mere month or two after launch. Now, maybe not a single-player DLC, but multiplayer? Definitely. Also, curious to see if hazard maps are coming back. I loved hazard map packs back in ME3. Oh, and one last thing. When asked if there were any large multiplayer boss battles, we got the shoulder shrug. But as sneaky as BioWare is, this to me is a very promising answer. Okay, well, we covered enough multiplayer stuff. Next, let's dive into single player. Now, some people were worried about blueprints, that you had to, grind and scan your ass off to earn research data, so that way you can go buy everything you need. Well, that's not always the case. Blueprints will drop simply from leveling up your character in the story. However, there are certain ones that you can only buy with R&D, but there will indeed be free ones. And speaking of worried players, there's a fear going around that with all these videos coming out, there wasn't a single one that showed any side quests or NPCs to interact with. Well, developer Michael Gamble said not to worry, there are a ton of side quests and tons of NPC quest givers. It's just that they were pulled in order to not spoil the details. So that is awesome to know. Moving along here, most games these days make you stay online. If you're not online, you can't play like 95% of the AAA games out there. But Mass Effect can be played offline in single player mode if you wish to do so. However, you will need the day one patch. Okay, so moving this beast along here, NVIDIA also recently showed off a few 4K screenshots that were pretty breathtaking. The detail here is just insane. The link is down below, of course, but on top of that, they also released the details on the options menu. We get a look at all of the graphical settings available, and it doesn't look anything like Mass Effect 3. Now, of course, these are PC settings, but console users also have a few graphic settings as well. There are settings for chromatic aberration and film grain. However, motion blur cannot be turned off. This is the entire list, and if you wish to max out all of this, you're going to need a pretty beefy GPU. If you have any worries about your computer if it can play the game, the website Can You Run It now has Mass Effect Andromeda loaded onto it. So head over there and have it check your system out to see if you're good to go. It'll tell you if you can run it based on the minimum specs or the recommended specs. It doesn't go into 4K or HDR or any of that, super high detail. Also, if anyone was wondering, Andromeda has a ton of cutting-edge support. Widescreen monitor support is available, 4K support, as well as HDR, and also SLI support. So that is something great to know. And moving on to our last few bits of single-player news, first is that it has been confirmed that you can indeed change Scott or Sarah's first name. However, if you do, they will just call you Ryder instead of switching it up at times and calling you by your first name. So it's probably best to leave it alone your first run-through. Okay, so with less than a week to go until early access, I've been getting a lot of messages on Twitter asking when the exact time will be. Will it be the same for everyone across the globe, or is it midnight depending on where you live? Well, for us here in North America, it will be 9 a.m. Pacific, so that is 12 p.m. noon on the East Coast. I asked one of the devs, Fernando, at what time it will go live, and 9 a.m. PST was his time frame. Although the word usually behind it didn't give me a lot of confidence, so if it does change, I will definitely let you guys know. Also, if you plan on accessing the trial, all of your rewards and progress will be carried over. So for instance, if you want to grind nothing but multiplayer and then stack up all those single player rewards, they will be there waiting for you the day Andromeda goes live on March 21st. Unfortunately, I think 95% of people won't even make it out of the character creator, but we'll have to see. Also, if you're in that 5% that actually plans on jumping into single player, we now know that you will be locked to only one planet. And of course, once you reach that cutoff, you will be gate locked at that mission. However, you will have tons of options when it comes to exploring. And speaking of options, if you were wondering if we had to go all the way back to the Nexus in order to access the Research and Development Terminal, then my friend, you were not alone. But don't worry, as you can see here, there are lots of places to craft and buy blueprints. The Nexus is simply one of those places. There's also one aboard the Tempest and a few others. And the last thing I have here for single player has to do with toggles. If you have some kind of disability, it's well known that gaming can be extremely hard to do, but allowing for toggles and key binding can help out tremendously. You can individually choose which buttons act as a toggle in the settings menu. Aiming, sprinting, and sustained powers can all be switched between hold-based input and toggle-based input. Alright, and finally guys, we come to the absolute worst thing to happen to me this week. I effed up and read over all of the achievements. A few days ago, Exophase uploaded all of the achievements available for Mass Effect Andromeda on the PS4. I thought to myself, oh, sweet, let's check out all the challenges. Dumb-ass mistake. There are major spoilers at the bottom of this page, so read at your own discretion. There are major milestones here. I mean, names, planets, areas. Those are all listed, as well as what you need to do to unlock it. So it's a terrible idea, and I do not recommend it. But if you wish to spoil 2 years of waiting, well, you know where to find this crap. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Wait a minute. No, it's not. Just a few hours ago, Mass Effect Andromeda put out a teaser of its upcoming official launch trailer. You can check it out on Twitter. The launch trailer will be debuting tomorrow, and if I had to guess, it will come out around the same time as all the other videos, which is usually between 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific or 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Definitely looking forward to that. Launch trailers are usually pretty epic. Okay, now that is it. As always, Nation, thank you all so much for watching and for the overwhelming support the past 2 months. It has been incredible, and we are weeks away, guys. Weeks from Andromeda. I plan on trying to stream the early access trial, so if you get a chance, stop by and say hi. Not sure if it's going to be on Twitch or YouTube Live. I'll make that decision depending on what my computer decides to do. But in the meantime, feel free to check me out on Twitter at SlyNation or on my new Facebook page, Sly Nation Gaming. It's the best place to stay in touch with the latest Mass Effect news, as well as new videos uploaded to my channel. Couldn't do this without you guys. Keep an eye out for my giveaway, which is a free pre-order code for Mass Effect Andromeda that will drop over the weekend, as well as other videos that will be coming out here very, very soon. But until then, this is your boy Sly, and I will catch you all next time.